Good afternoon. Apologize for doing this in English. My Greek is pretty limited. I'm from a family with two people. My brother is very productive. He managed to produce 4 offspring where I was securing computer networks. He was active and his family is growing. And whenever I go there, it's lots of things are going on. It's usually chaotic and the kids are running around doing all kinds of stuff. And when I came across this quote, I realized there's a parallel to our industry. So the days that we are living in now, IT-wise and security-wise, are both exciting and creating anxiety on the other side. And when we look at the parallel with the family, I realized when I was visiting my brother, and the parents in the room can probably relate to this, when do you start worrying when your kids are doing something? It's probably when it goes really, really silent, right? Something must be cooking, something's going on, and the kids are up to something that's probably no good. So in the same context, we see that today changes are happening in the market space as well. So we have objects of interest. The facts today are that in 2017, the market for infrastructure as a service was $35 million, where the total market was predicted to be about $260 billion. And this is for public cloud-based services. So I've been visiting Greece for a couple of days now. I've been talking to people around, so what's your idea on cloud? Are you using cloud technology? Is this something you are looking for in the future? And some customers said yes, some customers said no, it's not so interesting, maybe at some point, but we don't know right now. The reality in my travels across Europe has been that more than 90% of customers today has plans to either be in the cloud or going to the cloud this year. So the big difference to regular networking projects is the fact that we usually as a networking team or as a security team know about the fact that something's going on and somebody is developing a project. And with cloud, all of a sudden we are exposed to other people. We get new terms like DevOps. And this is the application building guys, and they go out and they go start doing stuff. And while they do, they start building their own environments in a virtualized environment that doesn't require a single piece of hardware in it anymore, which makes it quite easy for them to find out. Some customers find out through the CFO that they were in the cloud. The only reason they found out is they had a bunch of administrators, and each month one guy would pull the credit card and pay for the cloud usage, and the next month it would be the next guy, and the expenses got paid. And in the end of the story, the CFO brought everything together and said, look, we are spending quite a bit of money in this cloud thing. What is this cloud? Do we have policy? And it also means that it starts creating a level of anxiety. And with that, if you think about it, cloud is effectively something that will be a logical extension to your existing data center. Most customers today are looking to move away from owning hardware to go and do something that is in a virtualized world but still delivers the same service, the same application performance. So in that, they no longer have hardware, they no longer have wires, they don't have to buy it in advance, and when they go ahead, they can request more performance out of such a cloud environment. The majority of customers are pretty clever about it. They create a VPN, so the data is at least secured in transport. And that's where parallels start ending, because many customers, for instance, don't realize that a default virtual machine created in a public cloud has internet access. So if you have been following the news, you've seen, for instance, in Amazon, many buckets of data containing thousands and millions and hundreds of millions of people's information have been exposed to the internet. And I saw luckily that one of the themes in the show here is GDPR as well. And I guess somebody else is going to explain to you that's not really a situation where you want to be, because it's definitely not due diligence to put your data out in an environment right there. The other thing that happens with cloud environment is it gets less tangible. You don't know where your data is going to be anymore. The cloud provider says my cloud is secure. So with that, your data could be stored at any location around the world because they provide you with availability zones and things like that. So we figured, looking at all of these events that you can see behind me that were going on, so how bad is the reality? How bad is it if somebody puts up a virtual machine inside of a public cloud and says, let's start running a web server, or let me start working with my database in order to develop an application that I might be interested in. So what we've done is we put up that virtual machine in a cloud, and we place something in front of it that's called a honeypot. A honeypot is exactly what the word claims to be. It's something that attracts animals. In the real world, it would be bees. In the IT world, it would be people that are interested in what just happened. Now, an argument we often hear is, I'm from a small country, I'm from a small company, nobody cares about me, right? So this was a public cloud, no name attached to it whatsoever. We just created a machine, we put a honeypot in front of it to figure out what's going on. Obviously, people were interested, data was being sent to us. In 15 minutes, we had over 150 attacks being sent to that machine. People trying to get access to the machine. People trying to SSH login, people trying to do a brute force attack, people sending botnet-related exploits towards us, all kinds of attacks. And well, you may wonder, why would that happen? Who even knows about that machine that was just brought to life because it was just running a web application? Well, the reality is this is continuously being monitored in the internet. People have scripts that figure out, is a machine being created? And if their machine is being created, could I potentially log in? And if I can log in, can I abuse it to be used for my benefits? One of the things in cloud is the fact that you pay per usage. If the machine is not running or it's not running heavily, you don't pay a lot. With techniques like auto-scaling, when the load gets high, you can create more machines. Guess what happened to Tesla when people found out that their management interface on the public cloud was open? People broke in, people installed malware that started mining bitcoins. They said, lovely, Tesla, thank you very much for paying for the usage of the virtual machines, but we're going to be clever about it, so we're going to keep the average load under 30%. And in effect, we're going to make money out of your wallet. So there's also a whole new set of attack vectors that are being sent to us. Nobody was attacking your data center, your physical data center in the past, trying to say, oh, let's see if I can start mining for bitcoins, because probably there was something that would have picked it up and said, let's not go there. So when we look at cloud, there's something that's called a shared responsibility model. I mentioned that your public cloud vendor will tell you the cloud is secure. And you know what? They are. They build such a big data center. It is so physically secure. It is so redundant. They can escape geographies if something happens and you wouldn't notice. Your data would survive, your sessions would survive. Fantastic. You know the part where they don't take responsibility, and this is where you come in. This is your application, your data, your database, whatever network traffic that may be flowing inside of whatever service that's being offered by this cloud provider. This is often a misconception. I banged my head against the wall because I've been in CheckPoint for 18 years, working in Europe in an overlay team, so we travel around. And when I joined CheckPoint, we had to tell people, you know what, if you connect to the internet, you really need a firewall. Right? That's the minimum basic. 8 years ago, we said, next to a firewall, the minimum you need is IPS technology. Right? You probably all agree in the room, if you have any connection sitting on a perimeter, that's the minimum set of technologies you're looking for. And now we go to the cloud and we put a machine up and we didn't think about security. What just happened? Somebody introduced a time machine and brought us back 20 years in time and said, rewind, let's start all the way over again. I don't think that's where we want to be. And we all together, we must be much more clever than this to realize that this is not something how things are going to work. Challenges that we see coming our way, for instance, are who owns what? Right? We see DevOps people creating applications inside of the cloud. So they were told that the cloud was secure, so no need to do security. DevOps people typically are looking at connectivity and service and usability, much more than people in a network environment who have been educated to build secure networks, potentially based on a zero trust model or things like that. Think about the fact that those public clouds are managed by a web interface, and the web interface contains your whole network. So if I get the keys to that web interface, somehow, I have the control in my hand to delete your whole infrastructure as a service that's running in the cloud. and there's nothing much you could do about it. So new attack vectors like account takeover are starting to introduce themselves, and we never stopped to think about it, because in the past we had an out-of-band management network, we knew how to secure our passwords, and effectively the combination of a different set of people and a different set of attack vectors is making this a time of anxiety. What we figured, since it's a cloud, and while it may be cloudy, we still figured it might be time for some sunblock. I know for a fact I spent a few minutes outside and it's quite warm down here. We figured let's bring out some recommendations. So what if you just found out that your organization is indeed in the cloud as well, where you maybe knew about it or maybe not, different story. One of the things that we think that are pretty reasonable to say is if you're running a certain version of an application and there's a known exploit to that application, prevent from being attacked. And yes, I understand that you can't upgrade every second in time. So you need to find a way to start dealing with that. Figure out what information you can get, where technologies used to be very, very siloed, so that you had networking here and security there and applications there. Today what we see is that these environments are starting to consume. So in the cloud, for instance, you can consume information from the cloud that says, look, a new virtual machine was just created. Here's a new address that you need to start protecting automatically. It could be the cloud telling you we're running out of bandwidth, out of resources, so you need to create a new machine, spin that up. That's something that you can do. But you also want your security to contribute. You want the security to tell the cloud, hey, we just found a machine that was infected. Let's not give them the privileges they always used to have, because in effect, they're going to export the data to a location where we don't want it to be. So a few like sanity rules that we put in there. And obviously find a way to bring that information together. If the management of the whole solution is not something you can sit in a driver's seat in, bring all the information together and analyze what's happening on the security level, this is where the challenges happen, because the more virtual things become, the more effort you have to start doing in order to remain to be comprehensive. So we introduced something to deal with that. It's next to a set of technologies is also a concept, we call it CloudGuard, covering both public and private clouds, because I didn't speak about private clouds in this session here. But effectively it's something that we definitely see a big rise. So the fact that we're abstracting hardware from software and that we will start using policies in a software manner to start directing traffic is definitely a revelation in networking. We're escaping boundaries that we've been getting used to for 25 years, and they're no longer there. That's an opportunity as well as a threat. So in that, we want to make sure that whatever cloud you choose, and in my closing seconds I will tell you that you will not have a single cloud. You will have multiple clouds. You will select the cloud that fits best the application that you're using for. It's called a hybrid cloud model. In that hybrid cloud model, the one thing you want to be looking for is somebody that says, you know what, I don't care what cloud you choose. I will be there to help you with the very same technology you've been using to protect your network for the last couple of years, and we will continue to do so in the upcoming years when you go through your migration. With this, my time ends. Thank you very much for listening.